ultimately, it needs to be emphasized that in these Nuremberg trials, every Nazi that's put on the stand, they're all going to try to justify what they did as part of the Holocaust. Um, they're all going to try to justify it, and there's never going to be anything that can possibly um, be given as testimony that's actually going to make people think that it was okay what they did, that they were right in doing what they did. Um, so it should absolutely be said out loud that they're going to try to justify it, and you're never going to be able to justify doing the horrible things that they did. But that's what the Nuremberg trials, um, kind of was about. It was on their part, it was going to be, hey, I'm trying to explain my actions. The reality on the other side was, we need to listen to what you have to say. That way, you've had your say, and ultimately find a way um, that is punishment um, for what you did. Um, for the most part, most of them are going to say things like, "Hey, I was doing my duty. I was doing what I was ordered to do." Well, does that make it okay that you were just doing your job? Certainly, certainly not. Um, some of them said, "Hey, you know what? We didn't know what was really going on. Hey, we're just we thought they were criminals and that they should be punished as criminals." In many situations that you could find yourself in anywhere around the world, gee, I didn't know is never going to be an excuse uh, for a lot of things that could be done, let alone the cruel harshness that the Nazis displayed. Some of them will say, "Well, if I was ordered to do it, and if I didn't, then there were going to be consequences." Well, you're certainly going to see consequences for doing it as well, and that's what the Nuremberg trials was going to be what it was going to be about. And then ultimately, those that, well, I did not do anything; I just watched. Well, does that they try to make themselves the victim? Does that make it okay that, hey, I didn't participate, but I didn't stop it? There again, if you don't stop it, step in and do the right thing, you're just as guilty as those people who are doing those horrible things. So ultimately, we have to ask ourselves a question in this. Should the testimony that they're giving change our perspective on these people? I think the best way to go about hearing this information and dealing with this information and trying to put it all together is that um, it's probably better to label actions and not people. For example, if we label the Nazis as evil, it's easier than saying that, hey, this individual person was born evil. Well, chances are they probably weren't born evil, but the way of thinking, the leadership, the ideology itself was evil, and you're punishing that. Um, ultimately, all human beings have certain tendencies. We all have good and evil in us. We all have things where we think, oh man, I'm going to do that, and that's absolutely the right thing. And at other times, we're going to think, oh man, maybe I shouldn't do the right thing in this. Does that going to be on the same level as in this case, Nazis? Certainly not. So if we go about trying to punish and we go about trying to label the actions, if we try to label or punish what it is that people are doing, as opposed to the person themselves. It makes the decision on this very clear cut. It doesn't matter what your excuse is. The reality is this horrible thing happened and it needs to be punished. And that's really, in its essence, what those Nuremberg trials was all about.